Meet my new friend Titus. Titus is an American musician and songwriter from Tennessee. A lifelong music enthusiast, he found himself uniquely drawn to the Filipino genre of OPM, which ultimately inspired him to move to the Philippines. Titus has recently released his very first OPM single, Piliin. Be sure to check it out, link below. Titus is such a cool guy and we had an amazing conversation. We talked about his deep connection to Filipino music, how a 2-week trip to the Philippines turned into 16 months, the journey of writing his first Tagalog single, what it was like working with Shadiel Chan, and so much more. I hope you guys enjoy the video. So you're from Tennessee originally. How did you end up in the Philippines?
I mean, I've been kind of in love with Asia my entire life. When I was growing up, my babysitter actually was from Mindanao. So I was probably like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years old. And that's who first started raising me. And she would bring over lumpia and all kinds of, adobo. And I kind of grew up with her around for so long that I developed this fascination with the Philippines. I even took a Filipino martial art for about 6 years called arnis. So it's with the sticks. If you've ever seen that before.
Oh, yes. Yes, I've seen it. I didn't know what it was called, but I've seen the sticks. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. So went to college, did the normal stuff. My goal was always to move to Asia at some point. I even thought about teaching English and everything. But after I graduated, I was working a corporate 9 to 5 for a while, and I just wanted to figure out a way where I could travel and I could come here. I could see what this place had to offer and everything, and just kind of fulfill that childhood dream that I've always had. But I guess fast forward to now, I first flew to Vietnam because I had a family friend who lived over there, and that kind of got me acquainted. I mean, just walking across, trying to cross the street was probably the hardest thing I've ever done or experienced. I'd never seen motorbikes before, nothing like that. But I was there for 3 months, and while I was there, I'm always listening to Spotify, things like that. And I keep hearing OPM. I keep hearing this OPM music. I'm used to hearing K-pop and J-pop, but P-pop, for example, was some of the best music I've ever heard in my entire life. And I was like, I've got to try this. I've got to explore this. It's time now. So I did 3 months in Vietnam, and then I flew over to the Philippines, whereas actually I was only going to be here for 2 weeks. I had a flight already booked for actually Thailand. So I'm kind of going all around Southeast Asia. And that 2 weeks now turned into about a year and 4 months. So I have not left. And yeah, I completely fell in love with it. So
I've heard that story from so many different people that I've talked to on my channel, where they're like, oh yeah, I'm just going to go for a quick vacation and then I'll go back to, where I'm from, or go to the next country if it's a longer trip. And then they end up staying significantly longer than that. And it's funny, there's something unique in the Philippines that kind of brings people in and keeps them there. So you've been there continuously now since that first trip.
Yeah, I'll take sometimes trips that say every 3 or 4 months or so. I did take a trip to Thailand. I did go home to see my grandfather, my dad. I've got a much smaller family than I used to have, so it's I guess easier for me to stay away longer. But yeah, no, I've been in Manila for about 4 or 5 months. Before, I was staying in Cebu primarily for about 10 months.
For us English speakers, learning Tagalog can be a real challenge. Trust me, I've been there. That is exactly why I decided to create my beginner's Tagalog course. With over 10 years of experience speaking Tagalog, I made sure that each and every video lesson is jam-packed with only the most useful information. When it comes to this course, the only thing I regret is not having it when I first started learning Tagalog. Ready to learn? Click the first link in the video description below to get started. Now, back to the video. Yeah, there's a bunch of different ways you can come at it, I suppose. And it sounds like for you, the OPM was one of your first motivations. So what was different about it? What kind of drew you into that music specifically?
Let's see. So actually, before I even get into that, sorry for covering my face there, but this actually is from Apawang Ode. She's a very famous tattoo artist in the Philippines. So that was a 14-hour trip almost from Manila. And then the van takes you to like the where you're walking up to Kalinga village. I thought that we were done. We got out of the van, but there's actually another like hour-long hike that you have to do. So you feel like you're a character in a movie going this huge adventure to see this magical woman in a way. But anyways, that's from Apo Wango. Just wanted to touch on that. So I just saw
And a
it.
little
But,
bit of context with her as well. She's like I think she's regarded as like the oldest tattoo artist in the world. Like she's over 100 now, isn't she?
yes, slated to be anywhere from 104 to 108. I have no idea, but I had to take the chance to see a living legend. And going back to kind of the OPM point, I part of why I really wanted to go there is I wanted to play a song for her. So I have a video out circling around where I actually played a very popular OPM song for her, Palagi. So I hiked up the mountain with the guitar on my back. I had 2 bottles of Red Horse instead of water, essentially. So I don't know if you can get more Pinoy than that, but that was just an amazing experience.
And what was her reaction to the song? Did she know it?
I actually don't know how much Tagalog she actually knows. She probably understood. It seemed like she really enjoyed it. Some people said she got a little teary-eyed. I was just so nervous at the time, so I was just trying to play the best that I possibly could for her. But no, it was just a really magical experience. Yeah. Sorry to go off on that tangent, but back to the OPM point. I mean, even just walking in a 7-Eleven here, I am immediately pulling out my phone and Shazamming every single time I'm walking in. And I'm like, I'm hearing some of the best songs I've ever heard from some of the most talented artists. And even before, when I had no sense of what the language was, I was so vibing with the music because I played guitar and sang my whole life. But this to me was just on a completely different level. Even hearing Palagi the first time, I was almost crying hearing that song. And it's just the way that it made me feel. And I really haven't gotten that from many other genres or countries. I'm a big fan of music from all over, but specifically Philippines, Pinoy Pride, you guys got that on lock.
Yeah, music has an interesting way of kind of transcending language in a lot of ways. And so you were hearing this music, you didn't necessarily understand it, but you were drawn to it. And now, I mean, you sing OPM, you came up with your own OPM song. I mean, how did you get there, I guess?
It was really, really fast, kind of how everything was happening. So I just I do some vlogs on YouTube, and I like to just walk around and see what happens. Nothing's planned. I don't know, go on this adventure. I go to seek a great perhaps, per se. So who knows what's going to happen, but it's walking around kind of late at night, Lapu-Lapu area, and there was a group of kuyas just having tagay. It's the first time I had Red Horse, actually. They were just singing karaoke, and they're outside and just having the best time, and the voices were just amazing. And I'm like, what is this amazing culture surrounded by food and music that's like, and there's a beach there and everybody's anyways, I was just kind of on cloud 9. So normally I wouldn't just walk up to random people, but I wanted to so bad. I wanted to be a part of that. I wanted to join in. So I went and I had my first Red Horse, and that's my favorite beer in the Philippines. So shout out to Red Horse. And then I joined the Kuyats there, and they let me sing with them. And kind of by the end of getting to know them and everything, they were like, bro, you should try singing OPM sometime. And that night I went back to my Airbnb and I just started listening to a ton of different music. That's when I had first heard Palagi, which kind of set all of this in motion. And I put a cover on Instagram. I think it was like 200,000 views overnight. And I had like 300 followers, man. Like this, my passion is travel, but this changed like the course of almost everything. Music has also been my passion, but I got a message from a producer for a show called GMA here to be invited to perform the song. And they were like, how long have you been here? And I'm like, well, 2 weeks. And, they're asking for this grand story. And I'm so scared because I don't know if the accent's okay. I don't know if I just knew I had to take the opportunity. I actually canceled I couldn't cancel the Thailand flight, but I canceled the trip altogether. And I just said, I'm going to do this and just see what happens. And I flew to Manila from Cebu and went on the show. They did a short interview. Like I said, even thinking about it makes me nervous. It was very scary, but I sang Palagi on there, and I just dived into it ever since. I kept going and kept doing covers, and it got to a point where I really wanted to start taking this a lot more serious. And a lot of producers were reaching out saying, hey, we're all in Manila. This is kind of the Mecca and this is where the labels are. And so, yeah, so I flew up and I wanted to try it out, put out a post looking for a producer, just made a lot of connections. And I ended up recording with one, and his name is Shadiel Chan. And this man is the label head of 9 Degrees North, the owner of Cozy Cove. I mean, it's one of the most successful producers I've ever met in my entire life. Also, one of the most talented. The craziest thing was when I first got here, I was watching artists perform on Cozy Cove, perform on Wish, and sitting there like, "God, I want to do that one day." And a couple months later, I'm recording with the producer who made that happen. Yeah, it's just a lot of hard work, a little bit of luck, and just pursuing your passion like to your will's end. So
So you see yourself living there for like the foreseeable future.
oh, 100%.
So like when you first arrived, you went to Cebu, you said, right? That was the first spot before you went to Manila to do some recording.
Yeah.
So like when you first arrived, what were your like initial impressions of the Philippines?
My perception of it has changed so much now. When I first arrived, oh man, chaotic. It was loud. The chickens. I definitely don't need an alarm clock. So I like to stay in more just like local areas. So, but the only issue when I'm trying to go to sleep, which is partially during the day, that's when the chickens are sounding the alarms. So harder to sleep. But I just have such a zest for it all. It's very easy to overlook and adapt. So, I mean, first initial impressions was, like I said, the food and the music and the people, how inviting and how accepting they were. And this was not something I could get in other countries because they could speak English. So it was very easy to just walk up to anyone and strike up a conversation, and just how accepting they were, and how nice they treated me. And it's not something that you get everywhere. Slightly reminiscent where I'm from in Tennessee, so in a way it kind of makes this place even feel more like home. Well, another thing too, I mean, every weekend there is something amazing to do that I've found. I found no short of adventure anywhere. One of my favorites was when I was still in Cebu. So just doing my casual work during the week and just exploring. You can take a ferry for very cheap. Not exactly sure what the translation is to English dollars, but very, very, very simple to just hop on a ferry, go wherever you want to any island. And a recent one that I was on is Camotes Island, right off the coast of Cebu. It takes about an hour to get there. I had no idea what I was doing. I never planned. This is another vlog that I had. Never have driven a motorbike, but this island was very chill, very relaxed. And I said, okay, this is the day I'm going to do this. I'm going to figure this out. Long story short, I almost basically killed me and potentially another big, bus driver I was almost running into, and everybody's walking out, watching me and freaking out. And I was freaking out. I was super nervous. I didn't know what to do. Everybody's kind of looking at me, and I just paid the guy, gave my driver's license, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I can ride a bicycle. I've got this. No, absolutely not. So it was very, very scary at first, but back to kind of that hospitality, Kuya was like, hey, let me help you. Let me figure this out for you. So I ended up taking one of like the tricycle kind of bikes, to my Airbnb. He drove the motorbike to me. Now, luckily my Airbnb had a pretty big yard. So he drove it there all the way for me, didn't charge me any extra money, and, taught me how to start it and taught me, how to do everything. And sure enough, that day I'm driving. I'm going. I felt comfortable enough. It was just another kind of amazing experience. So learn how to ride a motorbike. That was one big check for me. After that, still had no idea the area. I've never been to this island before. So I'm just walking around, and then there's this one sari-sari store, just like kind of in the middle of nowhere, and there's nothing around. There's no 7-Elevens there or anything like that. So that's the first place I go. And like, okay, I like Red Horse. I can speak a little bit of Bisaya. Let me introduce myself and see what's going on. Told him I was a musician. Although I don't know the guy's name, I just call him Tatay, which is, kind of like a older, father figure or whatever. So Tatay from the sari-sari store actually ended up inviting me to have tuba, which is like a coconut wine. Yeah, so later on they invited me to their house. I'm drinking tuba with them. I know I'm going to butcher this word, but it's called budats. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's a dance.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a real Bisaya thing. Hmm.
Yeah, so drinking tuba and dancing with everybody and just vibing along with them, and they just took me right into their home. You know, they're feeding me. I'm going around to fix their mother's car, all kinds of crazy things. Just the adventure kind of never stopped. But that's probably oversharing. But that was, yeah, just a short weekend. A short weekend. You never know what's going to happen. And that was the first day, the first couple hours I was there. I already have a family that I'm essentially staying with.
You said you started in Cebu, but now you're in Manila. How do those two cities compare to each other?
Okay, so I mean, Filipino hospitality is going to be everywhere. Cebu is a little slower, I would say. Manila is very fast paced. It's almost like it's like the New York City of the Philippines is kind of how I describe it in a way. Not to say you go a couple hours out and you're in a place called like Baguio or just, you know, there's beaches, everything like that as well. It's a little more fast paced and a little louder, I would say. But I mean, both great places.
Yeah, I guess it's a little bit different too. Like in Cebu, you do have access to the islands, you know, in the Visayas regions. Like you said, you went to, what was the island called? Camote?
Camotes Island, yeah. I think it means
Camotes.
sweet potato in Bisaya.
And we also went to Bohol from Cebu. We took a ferry across to Bohol. There's tons of cool islands you can check out. And then Manila, I guess, has its own flavor, you know, up to Baguio, or you go down to Cavite, you know, Tagaytay, and different places like that. And it does feel like there's kind of always an adventure waiting around every corner in the Philippines. You mentioned food earlier. What's your experience with Filipino food like? Do you have a favorite? Do you eat a lot of Filipino food?
Yeah, quite a bit. Favorite wise, I mean, I don't think there's something I haven't liked yet. My favorite thing that I have here, which is going to be a lifelong thing for me now, and I'll always use in any dish possible that I would seem like it would taste all right in, is suka. Literally suka, the Filipino vinegar. I'm a big hot sauce lover, and I couldn't get my Texas Pete or, you know, my hot sauce I'm used to back in America. I put that on everything, especially being from Tennessee. But here in the Philippines, it's suka. And the first time I had that was at a random beach. I got on a bus, had no idea where I was going, and Cebu just went way south. And this family actually invited me to just eat with them randomly. I was just, you know, by myself with my guitar, and they were like, "Hey, like, who are you? What are you doing?" Invited me to eat. I was having a lechon manok, and they're like, you know, I just kind of followed them, you know, eating with my hands and dipping in the suka, and it was just this magical moment because I've not had hot sauce. I've not had that taste, that vinegar taste, in so long since I've been overseas, and that just did it for me. I'm in love with it. I put on chicken nuggets. I don't care. I do anything with it. So it's literally my favorite thing in the world. But more traditional foods, I've had dinuguan, which is more like, you know, I think it's made with blood and things. Of course, I've had lechon, all kinds of different lumpia, pork sinigang. I love sour flavors. So now, I mean, I almost enjoy eating with my hands more than I do with utensils as well.
Filipinos say that it tastes better that way, right?
I think so.
You eat with your hands.
So. You're almost one with the food. And oh man, another thing too is kind of the lip smacking, the chewing with your mouth open. That's something I hadn't experienced before now, and I do it now because I've lived here so long. And I put out a video on my social media, and my dad calls me immediately, and he goes, "You need to take that down." And I was like, "What do you mean?" Like, I'm eating lechon, I'm on a beach, it was amazing. And he's like, you're smacking your lips, everybody can hear you chewing, like, what are you doing? I said, "Dad, it's normal here. It's not like that, it's not a customary thing here, you know?" So that was a very kind of interesting thing, and something I had to explain to him. This is normal, it's so, you know, it's okay here. So I spent more time in Cebu. And this is also something that I've never really understood. So a lot of people will say Cebu, but when I lived in Cebu, it's like Cebu. So I've never understood the correct the way to pronounce that. But I've even been in just Grabs, and I've asked the driver just "Kuya, is it Cebu or Cebu?" And then he'd be like, "Cebu," and I'm like, "Okay." And then the next one will say Cebu, and then so I don't know, but I'm
I
saying
wonder if it's a
Cebu.
Bisaya Tagalog thing, maybe.
I think so. I think so. Yeah, because there's so many different dialects. Yeah.
I haven't heard Cebu as much as Cebu. Yeah, I've heard more say than see, I would say.
So it's opposite for me.
Okay. So maybe it is a Bisaya Tagalog thing because you would have more exposure to Bisaya and I would have more exposure to Tagalog probably. So maybe that's it.
Well, I kind of been trying to learn more Tagalog since I came to Manila, but sometimes even I'm saying good morning or good evening or something like that. I will say it in Bisaya first, and I'm like, oh, magandang gabi. Yeah, magandang gabi, it is a whole kinds of, yeah. It's been like tough to navigate everything.
You're like mixing up both of the languages. I mean, so if Bisaya is your strongest one, where would you say you're at in that like learning process?
Enough to, greet and order from like the ate, selling like the pork barbecue, something like that. And it's the strangest thing is, so I watch a lot of like just Filipino like TV shows and everything. I think that's the best way to kind of just also immerse when you're not just, I'm laying in bed or something. But a lot of the time I find myself understanding the language, and then whenever I'm trying to speak it back, I get so scared to speak the words, but I find myself understanding it like so much better. So that's kind of where I'm at.
You've probably heard it a lot in the last. You said it's been a year and 4 months. Is that right? Yeah, you probably heard it a ton over that time, right? So it makes sense you'd understand more than you can speak. Yeah, Bisaya is interesting. I would love to learn Bisaya as well because there is such a huge population of Bisaya speakers in the Philippines, right? Like I believe it is like a contender for the largest group of speakers of one language in the Philippines. It's like Tagalog, Bisaya. I don't know which one is bigger, but
Well, most in the north, I found that they don't actually speak Bisaya, but everyone to the south actually speaks both. Most, I would say.
yeah, like Tagalog speakers don't learn Bisaya, but Bisaya speakers do learn Tagalog. I mean, it has to do with Tagalog or Filipino being the one of the official languages of the Philippines, right? So things like, national news broadcasts would be in Tagalog. It's also a subject in school, like Filipino is a subject in school where Bisaya isn't typically. And so it's like Tagalog is treated more as like an official language. And so that's why Bisaya speakers also learn it. But yeah, when I was in Cebu, or actually in Bohol, because we spent a few days there, I was a little bit worried because I don't speak any Bisaya. I mean, just like little stuff, mayong buntag, dili ko kabalu, like, I don't know, like just like random words. And so I was like, well, how's this going to be? Because I don't really want to speak English. But people were like super chill and everyone, like you said, spoke Tagalog or at least understood what I was saying. And once in a while they would respond in Bisaya and I would kind of guess because the languages are pretty similar. Sometimes you can kind of figure it out. And so, yeah, the language wasn't an issue. Bisaya people specifically are very multilingual. I mean, so just like any other group that isn't Tagalog first, right? If you're an Ilocano speaker, you would also speak Tagalog. Or if you speak Ilonggo or whatever, you would also learn Tagalog. So yeah, Filipinos are very, very good at learning languages for sure. And so like, how does that work? What's your process for learning a song in a language that you're not super proficient in?
To me, it's so much easier than speaking. I'm a musician, so it came so natural to me. I hadn't really ever tried to sing another language before. This was kind of the first time that this ever happened to me, or I tried it, and that's kind of when that next day things were going viral and crazy, and people liked it, and I was, I mean, so nervous. Sometimes I'm still getting like a basher. Sometimes, I understand that not everybody's gonna accept someone else trying to sing their music, but I'm just trying to show love for it and trying to do my best. But
Well, it comes across that way. That's how I see it anyway. I see that you're passionate about it and want to share the love for it.
trying my best to, for sure. But process, I mean, I had dated a girl for a while when I first got here. That's actually how I got really, really involved with the culture and everything. And learning a lot of Bisaya and all that. But oh man, I had to woke up and had to write a song one day. I hadn't written a song in years. College, all kinds of stuff took that out of me. It's almost like the Philippines reignited this passion, even for music and songwriting that I hadn't had in so long. So I wanted to write this song to kind of sum up my story and everything. Yeah, so I wanted to write it in Tagalog. I wrote it in kind of a mix of that and English, so we call it Taglish. But I'll write it in English first, and then I will put Tagalog lyrics. So I'll start translating the lyrics, and then I will just go back and forth for hours trying to get the right message. The main thing that I want to do is be able to express my message clearly, which was terrifying to take that song because I did this by myself and going up to Baguio to record with Shadio Chan, the top producer here, man. Like I was so nervous, but he didn't change the lyric. And I was like, okay, I might have something here. I might have done this right. It was such a big milestone for me. But one thing he did change though, and that's so in my song I was saying like I say okay. I'm trying to rhyme with that. So I was saying maglalak bay, but it's maglalak bay. And he's like, no, it's maglalak no, like it's maglalak bay. This is exactly how you yeah. So that's one thing that I changed, but it's still kind of learning as I go and everything. But
Yeah, it's the mix of English and Tagalog is very natural. I mean, I think that some people will think that to sound more Filipino, you need to speak more Tagalog. And sometimes the opposite is true, where the more English you mix in, the more natural you kind of sound, you know? Especially in more like metropolitan areas of the Philippines, you almost sound like a robot if you use too much Tagalog, you know what I mean? The balance you have between Tagalog and English in that song feels really natural, you know, at least to me, for for whatever it's worth. I think it sounds great. I've talked to a few different musicians on the channel, and I'm just always so blown away by like the way that you guys nail the lyrics. I mean, I was just listening to your song. I mean, for reference, I guess we didn't mention this, but the song is called Piliin, right? Your new song. When I was listening to that as you were singing on Spotify, and I was just like listening to the intonation of all of the syllables, because that's really hard in Tagalog. That's something that I struggle with now, you know, a decade later, is putting the right stress. Sometimes there'll be a word with like Cebu, right? Versus Cebu. Yeah. I struggle with that a lot, or tayo instead of tayo, you know? And so I was listening to you sing and you were like nailing all of the pronunciation, and I was like really impressed with what you did there.
I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, I kind of it's a gamble every time. I feel like when I put a song out, I never know the feedback that I'm gonna get, and sometimes I do get some constructive criticism, and I really appreciate that. Yeah, I'm always trying to improve and things, but coming from you, that's really awesome to hear from a linguist yourself. But for
A
some
linguist
reason,
is
man,
probably a bit of a stretch.
no, but for some reason, singing it just came so natural, man. I don't know. It's to me, it's there's probably a word in Tagalog for it. I can't think of it now, but I think it's kind of a meant to be, or that like happen chance that it was supposed to happen is how I feel.
Tadhana is
That
destiny.
one, that is it. That is it.
Yeah.
Tadhana.
Tadhana. You see that in a lot of OPM music as well. OPM is always so romantic. You know, it has a real romantic flair to it. And I like that. It's like, it can be feel good music. It can be breakup music. It's kind of like both of those things at the same time. You mentioned when we were talking on TikTok that you might want to sing a cover. Is that something that you still want to do? I'm totally open to whatever you want to do.
Let me do like just the chorus, maybe. Palagi. Okay. Sa huli palagi babalik pa rin sa yakap mo hanggang sa huli palagi pipiliin kong maging sa'yo ulit-ulitin man nais ko malaman kung iyo ako palagi, palagi.
Ang galing. That's probably something you've heard a lot in the Philippines since you've been there. Ang
A
galing.
lot of lot of comments. I know at first when people would say that, I would go in online and what does this mean? What does this mean? So, but
Thank you for doing that, man. I appreciate it. We've probably already gone over some of these things in our conversation, but like, what is your favorite thing about Filipino culture?
I guess the level of acceptance that they bring. I don't know if there's another place on earth that I've ever experienced like it without knowing all the language or the culture or really anything about it. Anybody that you meet off the streets or in a restaurant or anywhere, I've made some of the best friends that I ever have my entire life here. Yeah, I mean, without actually being home where I was born, this is my home.